Hello, today is the 1st of March, 2023. We always do our disclaimer, go over our calls, make some predictions. I think today could be a very significant day. We'll get into that in just a minute. It's my trading plan for Thursday, March the 2nd, 2023. Please remember I can be wrong. Any trade you make should be at your own risk. I didn't have a call today. We did look for the pattern with the early high, which is this. And tomorrow should also have the early high. I had a plan if we gapped and promptly took out this relative high from yesterday, and I said if we didn't, I didn't have a plan. Here's what we said. And so there was no call. We came nowhere near the target because since we gapped down smartly, the call was killed before the open, so we'll add 39.93.82 to the list. Let's go over the MEJT calls from today, which generated a few targets, 39.58.43, and ultimately about a point higher, 39.59.56. I'm not certain these are going to print, but let's go over them. Early on, MEJT said two things. It said this drop was false, and it also said ultimately we'd have higher prices. So the drop did retrace. That's enough to satisfy the ultimate buy signal. You don't have to get more than this, but often if it isn't a powerhouse move, you'll trade higher than that high, which we did later in the afternoon. Right over here. We got another ultimate signal here to buy in the afternoon. That hasn't played out, and MEJT says this drop doesn't meet the sustainability criteria, so that gives us the higher targets. We also gapped down, hit lower lows, closed over these lows, and let's gap down smartly and undercut this low promptly. That's a bullish pattern. So all those things call for higher prices if we don't gap down smartly. What I don't like is two things. First of all, we had a perfect setup this morning and it failed. A friend of mine called this the Peon trap. Peon is his abbreviation of Europeans. Futures were way down, then made a strong recovery. We're over here, over this high, with just about an hour or two before we open. And that you would usually trap all the Europeans who went short overnight. And it's a very good signal if it's maintained at the open. So we had a great signal, and all we had to do was keep it. And keeping that reversal should be easier than having the reversal in the first place. So it was a big failure when it wasn't maintained and we gapped down anyway. I also don't like the fact that I called for a low here. I said if it were not undercut significantly, that should be the low of this leg. Well, it was undercut by about 3 points here. That's not significant. We had a sharp reversal. That really should be it if that low is going to hold. And retesting that low again is kind of superfluous. It really shouldn't happen. Now, because it happened so close to each other on the same day, maybe it doesn't mean anything. If we gap up smartly tomorrow, all is forgiven. What the bulls need to do to overcome these two failures today is to invalidate it by gapping and promptly overtaking today's high. If we gap and overtake this high fast, that bottom is a great bottom. Still have all the support. We still have a valid wave count, even though it's not the only one. This support could still hold. But if it holds, it's had its one retest, it doesn't get any more. If it's going to hold, we should move up smartly. If we don't do that, the odds favor gapping down smartly, undercutting these lows, which is a major break of support. Now, any break of support has to be confirmed the next day, but ideally it shouldn't even break in the first place, particularly when it's been tested like this. The more times you test it, the more likely it is to break. So I'm suspicious this whole idea, which hasn't failed yet, might fail. We won't know that until the open tomorrow. Now, tomorrow's pattern has really high. Doesn't mean you won't gap down. Today's pattern should have rallied into a close near the high or dropped in a straight line. Neither happened. And since tomorrow's open can substitute for today's close, this deficiency should be righted by gapping strongly at tomorrow's open. My expectation had been that this leg bottomed near 39.42. We didn't undercut it significantly, so that possibility remains alive. Two things are calling this pattern into question. The market failed to maintain the European trap pattern. We recovered from a strong decline in futures and shortly before the open were higher. Had we opened there, Europeans who shorted overnight would have been trapped and forced to cover. I don't like it when things fail, because when they fail, they usually fail big. The first retest of 39.42 qualified as the Trader Vic 2B bottom, which is a slight undercutting of the prior low, which is immediately reversed, and that was reversed in spades. Retesting it again today was superfluous. Might mean nothing since it happened the same day, but ideally that should not have happened. Bulls need to gap up sharply tomorrow and ideally clear today's high promptly. And if they do, we still have the makings of a good bottom. But if they can't do that, the odds favor gapping down and promptly undercutting today's low. And while any break would need confirmation the next day, the break of support would likely take us much lower. There's support from multiple MEJT targets in the 39.20s, but this is major support at today's low. And when major support breaks, it usually delivers more on the downside than just the 39.20s before bottoming out. So we're at major support. Hasn't broken yet, but I don't like the way it's acting. Bulls need to gap and promptly overtake this high and all is forgiven. But we're going to probably gap smartly at the open, and if support breaks, it's usually going to give us more than these targets we have in the 39.20s, although that's my next support area. So keep your fingers crossed. We'll see how we open tomorrow, and that's today's call.